Hello, everyone, and welcome to Makersplace in Whale Artist Fireside Chat with 14-year-old phenom Tyler Gordan, one of the nation's most celebrated young artists who's garnered national acclaim for his portraits of Vice President Kamala Harris, Oprah, LeBron, and several other icons of the Black and Brown communities. He's partnering with CommonSpirit Health to channel his own life experiences to advocate for health equity, representation, and a just world for all. Tyler and team, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello. It's an honor to be here.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Same here.
Definitely a lot of excitement about what you guys are doing and what you're trying to raise awareness for. So can't wait to talk about it. But before we do, if there is anyone that isn't familiar with the phenom that is Tyler Gordan, Tyler, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and talk to us about your background in art?
Yeah, so I started painting when I was 10 years old. I was going to a school STEM fair. They able to meet art categories where I was at the art competition. And I thought it was a great idea to paint my principal. And that night, I had a dream, got telling me I could paint. So I told my mom about my dream. But since it was 3 in the morning, she yelled at me to go back to bed. And at 5 in the morning the next day, I had the exact same dream. Okay, this time God told me if I did not use my talent, he would take it away.
Wow.
So I told my mom about this dream, crying. And when it turned to 6 o'clock, she gave me one of her canvases. She painted still. My very first portrait took exactly 17 minutes. I painted my very first portrait.
Wow. And how old were you when that happened?
I was 10.
10, painting a portrait. Amazing, amazing stuff. And so since then, have you just been picking it up on your own, or is this something you go to school for?
I should have been picking it up on my own. I haven't really studied art yet because I feel like they're going to change the way that
Right.
I do my art.
Right, yeah. And you have such a pure natural form that's so stylistically yours, right? Very unique. So I can definitely see why you'd be interested in trying to keep that pure. Amazing stuff. Anyone that would look up your name can see, your portraits that got so many accolades for the inauguration, your campaign for Black History Month with Disney and Women's History Month. You're featured in galleries all around the country, if not the world, right? Beverly Hills and Heirs to the Throne. You have an exhibit in New York and Tribeca. A small following on Twitter, like 60,000 people or something like that, just a sprinkle. And accolades all over. Time Magazine Kid of the Year within that finalist group there. You actually were commissioned by Time to do a cover. Right. I think I couldn't possibly encapsulate everything going on. I think I just read that you had a visit from E40 the other day after drawing a portrait of him.
Yes,
right? So incredible stuff. And it's an honor to have you on here. So how do you feel about the attention and how you've kind of been thrust in the spotlight?
I just try to stay humble. I always like supporting my family. So every time I get money, I like to go out and support my family. I just like staying humble.
Right. Definitely. It's something that's echoed by most of the, most prolific artists. So you are on the right path, my friend. Definitely on the right path. And then, how would you characterize for someone that's looking at your work for the first time? How would you say your art style is?
I call myself art shadow painting. It's to where I paint the light and shadows off people's faces. And I feel like that's the easiest way to capture every detail in the face.
Right, and it definitely gives it a cool silhouette, and it's very emotive too. Like you can see emotion in it by the way that you place the shadows. So, really cool stuff there.
Thank you.
What do you hope to accomplish with your art, and and what you do in the art world?
That I'll keep inspiring other kids to keep following their dreams and passions.
Very cool. And what a person to look up to, that, you know, you just started this journey and you've already made such an impact. I can only imagine what you do as you move forward. Can you tell us a little bit about your inspiration? You know, what do you draw on for your inspiration in the art that you create?
Tons of people inspire me, and when I'm painting a specific person, um, they inspire me a lot. That's why I chose to paint them.
Yeah, I saw you have a mix, right? Political figures, you have musicians, you have people that are icons and philanthropists, all kinds of walks of life. So a lot of inspiration coming from a lot of different places there. So very, very cool. And how about, you know, Anu and Jamal, can you tell me a little bit about CommonSpirit Health Foundation and what you guys do?
Absolutely. So CommonSpirit Health is a national nonprofit faith-based healthcare organization, and we have the privilege, the absolute privilege, to provide care in diverse communities across 21 states. We offer a wide spectrum of care environments, including hospitals, medical office, urgent care centers, but the core mission that inspires us to wake up and get to job every day is the belief that everyone deserves high quality care, and especially those that are in vulnerable communities. And I think if one thing we've all learned from the way COVID-19 pandemic panned out, is that so many Americans and so many communities are experiencing healthcare differently, and few are also experiencing barriers. And I think that is moving us all to take action, and are this commitment to strive for health equity and make it a part of a mission and ensure that everyone has access to high quality care is what really made us curious and eager to lean in and work with someone like Tyler, who is an inspiration for so many because of his own personal healthcare journey and how he has risen to capture it all and rise against it all. And so we felt very humbled to have the opportunity to actually do something together to promote the message of health equity and work with Tyler on this NFT, and to ensure that all the funds generated through this cause are going back into our CommonSpirit Health Foundation, which run a lot of health equity initiatives, all the way from ensuring that people have access to care, and the community we serve have different ways to access food, nutrition, and all the different things that make or break a person's health. So we are really excited to be partnering with Tyler on this. And Jamal, my colleague, can lean in a lot more to talk about how close the mission of health equity is to us and how it drives us every single day. So Jamal, don't let me be in your way.
No problem. I'm just glad to be here today, and just so proud of just a rising star. It's Tyler and Anu. Thanks for the opportunity to join as a thought partner in this effort. Health equity, in academic and corporate spaces means one thing to us as kind of practitioners in the space of healthcare, but it's very challenging sometimes to bring the important message of health equity to the general public. So the creative, kind of technologically and socially innovative way that we are bringing health equity through Tyler's talent is really a model for how it should be done, to really partner with influencers, with talent that have a significant following, has the attention of not just youth around the world, but adults, around the world who are genuinely concerned with the priorities that kind of coincide with the mission of CommonSpirit Health. And our mission at CommonSpirit Health is that we make the healing presence of God known in a world by improving the health of people we serve, especially those who are vulnerable, while we advance social justice for all. So that being our mission, it's imperative that, if we're talking about social justice, and we're inherently talking about health equity. And, health equity is a new term for many people. So how we message it is as simple as where people live, learn, work, play, and pray. We have to bring the message of equality and equity to where people are. And Tyler is just a phenomenal talent who has genuinely taken from his own lived experience and from his talent, taken to heart the importance of health equity. And the cool thing about him as an artist is if you look at the history of our country, there's been a lot of goodness that has been birthed out of pain, like health inequity. So when you think about jazz, when you think about, a lot of the creative parts of the arts that we celebrate in American culture, it came out of a lot of hurt. So the cool thing now is that we have a positive narrative to educate people about the importance of health and mental health inequality in our society, but using art, digital art and NFT to spread the message through education, outreach, and awareness. So it's an honor to be able to join forces to raise, money for good, to raise attention. And I'm so glad as a health equity leader within our organization to join and unite with Anu and other colleagues at CommonSpirit who are equally as passionate about the work.
Great stuff. I would love it if you could extrapolate a little bit and just give some layman examples of, health inequality that can affect communities, especially communities that are an inherent disadvantage because of what their resources are. Because I think, some people that haven't experienced that and aren't in that environment and subject to that don't really have a perspective on how it impacts people.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anu, or I don't know if that's for me, but we'll just jump in.
Go for it, Jamal.
Yeah, everyone has a perspective. I'll give a real-time example of healthcare. If you think nationally, there are about 12 or 13% Black and African Americans that constitute that demographic in the United States, but yet only 5% of physicians across this country are Black or African American. That's a real inequity or disparity that we see in that it's not equitable. It's not to proportion. Another example is, in a state like California where food insecurity is a major issue. Our leading economy other than technology is agriculture. So, but you have a lot of adults and especially children across the country, but especially in a state like California, who are food insecure. They don't have access to healthy foods. And a lot of those children look like us on the screen. A lot of those children, might be poor and may not have access other than what they get in school. So food insecurity, you think about major extreme weather events, whether it's floods on the East Coast, Southeast, on the West Coast, we've been getting it bad as far as fire season, air quality, or people who live in the shadows of a manufacturing company to where the air quality is not good to breathe. And you see higher incidence of respiratory illness for children, especially children of color and or who are poor. So there are a number of ways by which health and mental health inequities show up beyond just in hospitals and in outpatient care centers. And that's why it's so important that as CommonSpirit Health, we have strong community health, community engagement, and philanthropic opportunities to go out to where people live, learn, work, play, and pray, and respond to these real issues that often don't just happen where care is provided. So hopefully those are some good examples of how inequities show up, but at the end of the day, they have an adverse impact on the health, mental health, and well-being of many vulnerable communities across our state, across our country, and especially within our communities.
Absolutely. And I'll just add on to that. If you look at the data, I think Jamal really brought to life like the ins and outs. But at a high level, if you view, the analysis estimate that these disparities that exist amount to approximately 93 billion in excess medical care cost and tons more of bills in lost productivity and economic losses. So though it is so ingrained in our mission and the healthcare providers are at the forefront of ensuring that access to care is available to all, I do think that as a community, as a society, as a country, we all need to lean in because the cost is just too high for anyone to ignore about what it means, not only in your day-to-day life and your longevity and your quality of life, but also as a community, the impact is felt by all.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because oftentimes with the things of this nature, even if it's a government program or something charitable, a foundation, whatnot, people like to bring up the economic factor, right? Like how much it costs to do this versus something else. And what they fail to recognize is there's a cost implication if you don't, that's far greater. Right. Just like my car, if I don't take care of it, the repair or the replacement is going to be much more of a burden than just maintenance, let alone the fact that the humanity aspect, right? Like as a society taking care of each other. And I like that you guys approach it from two different perspectives. Anecdotally, I come from a rough background, ethnic, and I can think of several times that this was a major impact in my life. So when I had the opportunity to speak with you guys about this project, it kind of hit near and dear to home. For example, uh, I have a family member who struggles with mental health issues, and you know, not everybody that is in that position has the strongest advocacy. And without that type of advocacy from people in the family or in the community, they can really get lost in the system. So it's difficult for me to see sometimes. I do my best to try to help, but in their scenario, certainly there are people around them and in their peer group that don't have the same fortunate resources as far as advocacy goes. Even from a transportation perspective, I remember being young and missing appointments because my mother it was too much to muster getting the funding to take me on 3 buses to get to an appointment, right? And as a byproduct of that, I ended up with like dental issues that I had to take care of down the road that cost a lot more than had I maintained it. So, there's a lot of things in the day-to-day that's difficult to connect the dots. And I think seeing the humans, talking about the stories, talking about the larger impact helps us collectively as a society understand, hey, this is worthwhile from a lot of different perspectives.
Can I?
Absolutely. The healthcare community calls them social determinants of care. But if you look, these are the things that we all have observed from day one of like growing up, right?
Right.
What stood between us and getting access to the things that needed? It's the transportation, it's the health literacy at times, it's that advocacy factor that you talk about, it's sometimes basic technology, right? Like in COVID, a lot of people started talking about virtual care. And for us, it was very important to note that any technology that we bring is working with a common denominator. A lot of people do not have access to Wi-Fi, and a lot of rural communities do not have that reliability. So you cannot add and layer healthcare in ways when it's not accessible to all. And yes, we talk it about the social determinants, but I think it's a very personal on a day-to-day level, and we see it growing up. I come from communities where I knew what they were before I actually got a term to say what it is. And I think that's why we at CommonSpirit feel that we cannot just serve an individual unless we are serving all these factors which do dictate the way they live and take care of themselves and have the right to stay healthy. And I think that's why health equity as a mission is something which is very fundamentally ingrained in our core, and it's really, really important to all of us.
And I'll just quickly add, one of the reasons why Tyler is so unique and fascinating is that, in the wrong hands, a very creative, very smart, very talented young man like Tyler could have been redirected in the wrong direction, and not because of anything that he did or didn't do. And what I'm talking about now is one of the disparities from a social determinants of health standpoint is an educational attainment. You have a lot of systemic, racism and dynamics that drive the K through 12 system. And as a result, you see a lot of unfair disciplinary practices that kind of create this pipeline elsewhere other than being successful for many of our kids, Black, Indigenous, other children of color. So that's what makes this so special, and that in the right hands to cultivate and inspire the talent that he brings, it's important, because the reality is education is a key social determinant of health. The better educated you are, the better in life for the most part. you're going to do and the healthier you're going to be. But the unfortunate reality is that 18% of Black and African American kids constitute preschoolers across the country. But 48%, almost 50% of the one-day school suspensions in preschool are Black and African American children. So when you talk about the unfair, disproportionate impact of discipline and how that literally can disrupt the trajectory of kids, of youth, of talent, of rising stars like Tyler, that's a huge issue. So that's why there's a multi-pronged benefit to this NFT digital art drop that we're working on that is definitely about equity, but it's also about an opportunity to inspire systems change, to inspire others to follow in his footsteps. And imagine how many other Tylers and Tylerettes there are out there, you know, that will be inspired by this, and who also will not just be inspired, but they too will be equity ambassadors. And that's one of the many benefits of advancing such a unique partnership like this. So that's why I just wanted to share the importance of this project, how much awareness it brings, what a huge difference it could bring when we talk about health and racial equity. And definitely thankful for this platform to talk about it.
Yeah, I'd love to circle back to that in a minute, because literally there have been some interesting conversations from people across the spectrum that I think you'd be interested to hear about. We'll touch on kind of objectives for the drops and some different things we can accomplish with it. But Tyler, I'd love to hear from your perspective, you know, why you decided to partner with these folks, and why CommonSpirit Health was a partnership that you thought made sense for you.
So 2 years ago, I broke my hips, and we didn't know till 3 months after. And during those 3 months, we did tons of x-rays, and they said that nothing was wrong. And we kept going back, and they kept saying it was growing pains. So we changed hospitals, and we took one x-ray, and immediately they said that my hips were broke. And since I was walking around on broken hips for 3 months, the top of my femur bone broke off and fell down my leg. And I had to be rushed into surgery. And I feel like because I had to wait 3 months, I feel like it was because of the area I live in. And I would just like everyone to have equal health inequities.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm sorry that happened, but I am ecstatic that you are here as a voice and an advocate for, you know, people and can make a big difference. What do you hope can happen from this drop that you guys put together? What do you hope are the things that come about because of it?
That the community will start working together again, and everybody can have equal health inequities, like I said, and it's everyone to be treated with fairness.
Right, and that is a very ambitious but very a very worthwhile cause. So it's a very honorable thing that you're doing. You obviously have incredible art talent behind it, so I think you will make a major impact here and definitely make a difference. How about you guys at CommonSpirit? We touched on it a little bit on what you would hope to accomplish with this drop. One thing I found interesting in our lead up to this is I've been in other conversations about the NFT space and the crypto art space and how it's grown. And, some major celebrities have waded their way in and out. But what I found particularly interesting is one night I was in a room, and I believe Snoop Dogg and I think The Game, and these are, hip hop artists you may be familiar with, came in, and their point was, hey, what we want to do is make this accessible to the Black and brown community, because this is empowerment, both from an artistic standpoint, from a voice standpoint, from being able to be heard and be an artist and rise from some different scenarios. And so, their point was, this is great. Let's find a way to get it into the hands of people and create more Tylers and unlock their potential out there. So I think that's definitely something I loved hearing that you hoped would be accomplished with this drop as well.
Oh, me?
Nope, sorry. No, I was just talking to these guys
No,
about what we had already talked about a little
yeah, I
bit.
was
And
going to defer to Anu first, and just kudos to Anu, and as well as her, the lead of her function, Rich Roth, the visionaries to just really get this going. But Anu has just been phenomenal driver of getting this done. So I'm going to defer to her first in response to that, and then I'll chime in afterwards.
Sure. So we thought of the NFT coming out of the innovation function because we're always looking for innovative ways to engage with the communities and to speak and reach out to diverse audience, because we believe that when we hear different voices, it just makes for a good dialogue, and we wanted to hear those different perspectives. So our foundation has been working with Tyler on putting together our annual gala, and that's how we got exposed to his art and who is he and his story. And it was an instant connection for us because we felt that his voice speaks to so many, right? He's an inspiration to the kids growing up and to a lot of adults who, for a lack of a better word, had been cynical and have been down with the COVID. And his voice is like a light. It inspires others to bring the best. And we couldn't think of a better ambassador for our health equity message than him. And for our health equity programs, we take a diverse approach. You heard Jamal spoke about, we are very concerned that when when the physicians delivering care in the community are not the representatives of the community, they don't look and feel like people that their patients come from, it can always lead to some cultural barriers in care. And so we've partnered with the Morehouse School of Medicine to ensure that the physicians serving the community come from the communities and they look and they feel like them and they have that cultural alignment with them. So that's just one example of a health equity program. You spoke about transportation as a barrier. We've seen that in our communities where people miss the appointments or are not able to come for their regular check-ins, that then results in a lot of like downstream impact on their care. Transportation and access to food as a barrier. So we have what we call community care network that ensure that nobody is missing the appointments because of that people have food at the table to ensure that they are taking care. And we're talking holistically about nutrition and transportation. That's one of the initiatives that the foundation wants to serve through the health equity. You heard me talk about the virtual care. So we are really getting down to ensure that technology is available to all our communities. And that way they have easy access to the providers and the doctors if there are circumstances and situations like COVID in which an in-person visit is not possible or feasible. In addition to that, we have programs that really lean in with, different communities where we know the infant mortality rates or the birth rates, are different than the usual outcomes. So we have special programs where we lean in with those mothers and we stay with them throughout the 9-month-long journey to ensure that they have access to good quality care so that there is no artificial barrier for them having the same healthy birth experience that we expect, or we take for granted in some of the other patient populations. And so those are just some examples of like the health equity work that is being done by the foundation already. And by the funds raised through this, we hope to like expand their scope. Given that we have a national footprint, we feel like we are able to really do things at scale well if we have the right, pairing of like the services with the patients. And so we are hoping to just leverage the funds to continue to keep these programs alive and continue to increase their scope and expand furthermore into the communities that we serve. So that will be just some real life examples of what's happening today and where we seek to double down with the funds raised from this.
And I'll echo everything that Anu has shared. And what I'll also speak to is this digital divide. When we think about the advent of technology and the advent of technology really driving what we know now as a wealth gap, many of the wealth inequities, we have an opportunity through this NFT digital art effort to raise, capital that can be invested in our health equity fund at CommonSpirit Health Foundation that goes directly into many of the programs that Anu just talked about. So to be socially and technologically innovative in this moment, to where you have hip hop artists and a cross section of people coming together around NFT, cryptocurrency, there's a great deal of wealth and investment that a few are benefiting from. So to expand that out, to educate people about having access to it, to be able to bid on one of these dope, nice NFT pieces that Tyler has created, that's awesome. It creates access not just to a few, but to many, and it really just once again heightens awareness on the important disparities and inequities that unfortunately occur in society. So in order to do well and to do good, it requires now in this moment that we get very innovative and try to be cutting edge, and push back against this persistent lag that always happens. It's like the same groups and cohorts of people always fall behind in our society. So how can we use opportunities like this to really close that gap, to get flat, and to realize equity instead of just talking about health equity? But let's make it real. And I definitely believe that this partnership is going to help us get closer to realizing that.
Thanks so much, guys, for helping to flesh that out. And you said it perfectly. This is not only an opportunity for people to do that, but also to to really get their hands on what is a super dope piece from Tyler himself. So Tyler, one of the absolute most headline grabbing, sought after artist, prodigy early in his career, obviously, and an opportunity with the auction here at Makersplace to score a 1 of 1. So I'd like to just talk really quick about the auction mechanics. But before I do that, Tyler, can you tell us a little bit about the drawing, the art that you made, and what were you thinking when you put it together?
Well, I thought that the specific drawing was showing the community gathering together and supporting each other. And I thought that was the key part about this NFT.
Right. And I love that you have, people from all walks of life. They look like children. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are. But they're all coming together. And then there's some animation involved, obviously, in the NFT itself. So it looks like here there's an auction for a 1 of 1, and whoever wins this auction will also get your physical copy as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, which would have to go into a vault. It had to be locked up. That will be a invaluable piece of history, I am sure. And then also, people can participate. There's 2 variants that are limited editions, so editions of 10 that people can join. Both citing connected and having some different animations. And those who just wanted to support, there's also going to be an open edition that people could grab, and this is the red variant as well. So this auction goes live in about 20 minutes, guys. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interest, a lot of people that want to scoop a Tyler physical, amongst other things, obviously the NFTs as well. But I would definitely want to get a physical into my collection if I had the opportunity. Is there a way, I had a question in the community. Some people said, is there a way that people that may see this recorded afterwards, they can still support and participate and do something for you guys in your organization?
Is that for the CommonSpirit? I'm guessing the question.
Correct.
Oh, yes, sorry. I was like, everybody wants to follow Tyler for lifelong, so
right.
It's for him. Yes, actually, we do encourage you to be a part of this really exciting, innovative initiative with Tyler. You get to have the bragging rights to have like some of the first NFT forum foray that Tyler got into. And so definitely grab a piece of this. And in the long term, we encourage you to follow CommonSpirit Foundation and CommonSpirit Health. We are always looking for ways to engage with the community as we bring these health equity initiatives to life. And so you can, yes, there you go. CommonSpirit Health Philanthropy is a way to engage with us. We have different fundraisers at different times of the year that we will love for folks to participate in and give us your voice and be a part of our advocacy to demand equal health care for everyone involved, irrespective of the zip code where they live, irrespective of the race they come from, and irrespective of like what the early challenges they might have been. And if you notice, just real quick to call out on the pieces, I think the way Tyler envisioned what an equitable world would look like and the whole spirit of like people coming together, I think it really resonated. And if you look at the names associated with the drop, they kind of like build that story of breaking the barriers, which is the headline here for the entire series. But it starts from like the hope, which we feel is the integral element. Anytime you take on a mission this big, you start with that hope, and then it builds on the piece of harmony, because we see that if we're all connected in our heart to do the right intent to bring this to life, we need to be working in harmony and in unison. And the last piece, which is actually the limited edition, is aptly named as Aspirations Actualized, because that's where we've gone back from like, there's no color difference, there's no creed difference, we're all equal. And in a just and equitable world, that is exactly what it would look like. So we felt like the name Aspirations Actualized really brought that entire story to life, that we are working together here to break the barriers. And for doing that, it's hope, it's harmony, and it's working in unison, which will get us there. So this is Tyler's vision, and I do not know how he does this at 14 years old. I wish I had that foresight and that streak in me when I was that old. But it's been an absolute pleasure to just look at the world from his eyes and to be inspired by his view and have his voice be a part of the conversation here. We couldn't have asked for more. And so anyone who supports us, please know that it's all for Tyler, and it's also for a good cause.
Yep.
There's some comments in our community that people love the way that the artwork changes the hair color and the skin tone as it goes through the animation. It really just kind of emphasizes the messaging here, and a beautiful progression of titles for the individual pieces that really help bring home the message that you guys want to get across. So yeah, excited for your drop. About 13 minutes to go. I want to make sure I'm ready because I'd love to get a Tyler physical into my home and an NFT into my collection. But we do have some questions from the audience. If you guys have a few more minutes, a lot of Tyler fans that have queued up some stuff for me to ask. So Tyler, I have to bombard you a little bit from the fan club that's here in the whale community. Some people want to know, how did you find your way into crypto and NFTs? Is this your first time looking at them, or were you exposed before?
This is my first time, and so far, it's been a really great experience, and I feel like it's a new way to get acquainted.
Right. Some cool things about NFTs, and this is once you go down the rabbit hole, right? Because this is the first one, and I'm sure you may experiment. But it lets you use the technology on the blockchain, on the smart contract, to do some interesting things. Like it could change the way the artwork looks depending on where you are in the world, or what time of day it is, or what the price of something is, or a temperature. There's a lot of interactive, cool elements, and knowing how creative you are, I can just imagine what you'll be putting together, down the road. So looking forward to when we have you back on for that conversation that inevitably will happen at some point. Someone wants to know, do you have any collaborations in the works that you're working on with other artists or with other projects you'd like to highlight?
We can't really talk about it yet.
Okay. NDA, big things happening, and you can't talk about it yet. Always a good sign. Always a good sign. Someone asked, what would you say besides this one were some of your favorite pieces that you've worked on?
Definitely my first Kevin Durant one, and actually like one of the pieces that I did for the Kardashians. I forgot which one it was, but yes, it was Travis Scott, and the way I did it, it was like a reverse style. I really like that one.
Okay, so you did a Travis Scott piece?
Yes.
Very nice. I'll have to look that up. Very cool. And you get commissioned by a lot of these celebrities quite often, it seems, right?
Yes.
Must be some fun phone calls and meetings, I'm sure.
Yes.
And then I also wanted to call attention to your book release. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So did that just hit the shelves this past week, or when did that come out?
It came out yesterday, actually.
Yesterday. And then did I hear right at the beginning of this, it's already #1 on the bestsellers list?
Yes.
Wow, what an amazing feat at 14 years old. I'm honored to have interviewed you, my friend. I think I'm getting a little bit of rub off clout from your talent, so I definitely appreciate it. Someone wants to know, what are some of the artists that you are a fan of?
I'm actually a really big fan of Basquiat. I just love his style.
Very cool. And the, believe it or not, in the NFT space and crypto art, there's a lot of fans of him as well. So I think they'll take to your artwork as you continue to progress in your career. And I think you'll have quite the name for yourself here as well. Someone wanted to know, what's the creative process like for you? You talked about your first portrait you banged out in 10 minutes. What is it typically for you? Do you just sit down with a sketch? Do you just freehand it?
I freehand it, and while I'm painting, I would have a picture in my hand in all my videos. It's like a replica, so I know where every detail is going to be at.
Oh, wow. So you have like a photographic memory.
Yes.
Oh, I'm envious, my friend. I could have used that in school, that's for sure. Someone wanted to know, are there any other mediums that you create in besides painting? Do you do digital with like an iPad and a stylus? Do you do any like sculpting or anything else?
No. I
No.
don't.
Focused and honed in. I like it. I like it. Some fans of yours said, a question, comment, would you ever do an audio version of your book? And I think your book's mostly pictures, but you do highlight, what you're drawing and, and what it's about a little bit.
Yes. Actually, we'll do a voiceover of my book.
Very cool. People are already clamoring for it, and it's day one. So that tells you a little bit about the demand for sure. And just I wanted to share with you a lot of comments from our community just saying that people feel like they need to go work on some stuff and do some art because you've just been an inspiration to them from watching you, and that there's no stopping you. You are amazing, and they're excited that they had the opportunity to meet you at this early stage in your career. Although I don't know how early it is really, if you've been doing these portraits since 10 years old, right?
Yes.
Incredible work, my friend. So just to reiterate everyone, on Makersplace, the drop, I'm sure it's highlighted on the front page if you go to drops, or we'll drop the link in the Discord. You can click on it directly, and it's Ty Gordan's World. There is a 1 of 1, the winner of which will receive the physical of Tyler's piece, 2 variants for limited edition, and also an open edition for everyone that wants to participate, support an amazing artist, get some amazing artwork, and at the same time contribute to this foundation that's just doing tremendous things for the community and helping health equity and other services and possible opportunities to better people's lives throughout the United States and possibly world if you continue to expand, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Anything else you guys would like to leave the people with before we go?
I was just going to say, if you have a dream or a passion, keep following it, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything.
And we'll just add to that we are so inspired by these young voices. You know, they give us so much hope for our future, and we encourage you to definitely check out Tyler's work if you haven't already. You'll be amazed at how incredible he is, and we've been honored to be a very small part of his journey, and look forward to your support as we launch this initiative to raise funds for health equity. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in and supporting this cause. We really appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and I'm sure you don't need it, but best of luck in your drop. I'll be eagerly watching to see what else you do in your career, Tyler, and likewise, I can't wait to see what else you guys can do to affect and help the communities that are impacted by the things we talked about today with CommonSpirit Health. Thank you, guys, and have a great night.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.